Greetings. This video is on the Star of Bethlehem Revisited. I'd like to go back and review one of the theories that has been proposed for the Star of Bethlehem, which first got me interested in planetary alignments. So I first heard a presentation on the Star of Bethlehem based on the material of Rick Larson, who is a law professor at Texas A&M. And he proposed that the Star of Bethlehem was really comprised of a series of conjunctions from the years 3 to 2 BC. These conjunctions involved a rare triple conjunction of Jupiter and the star Regulus, and then another conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. And through this, he proposed that the birth of Christ could have occurred from 3 to 2 BC. Now, it turns out that the early church fathers, including all of those listed here, practically were unanimous in their writings to report that the birth of Christ occurred in the year 2 BC. Now, a 2 BC year birth date, as testified by the early church fathers, conflicts with what historians have generally considered to be the date of death of Herod the Great. And in the past, they've suggested that he died in 4 BC. However, more recently, increasing scholarship is suggesting that he actually died in 1 BC. And while this is still greatly debated in the academic community, it appears that 1 BC may be gaining increasing support as the date of death for Herod the Great, which would fit with a 2 BC birth date of Christ. And that's the premise that we're going to embark on today. So we're going to work from the premise that that Herod the Great died in 1 BC, and we're going to give the benefit of the doubt to the early church fathers who claim that Jesus was born in 2 BC. And so then the question is, let's look at the planetary alignments that were present in that time prior to his birth from 3 to 2 BC. Well, the first of a series of 3 conjunctions of Jupiter, the king planet, and Regulus, the king star, occurred in the constellation of Leo. The first of these was on the 14th of September, 3 BC. Now, as Jupiter zigzagged back and forth through Leo during this time, there was a second conjunction on the 17th of February, 2 BC, as shown here. And then finally, on the 8th of May, 2 BC, there was a third conjunction of Jupiter and Regulus in the constellation of Leo. This completed what is considered to be a rare triple conjunction. And this certainly would have caught the eyes of the Magi, who were accustomed to watching planetary movements. And then just 1 month later, there was a very close conjunction of Jupiter and Venus, the closest conjunction in hundreds of years between these two planets, the king star and Venus. This was on the 17th of June, 2 BC. And so what Dr. Larson has proposed is that the 3 conjunctions of Jupiter and Regulus were announcing the birth of Christ, which occurred on the 17th of June, 2 BC, exactly 9 months after the first Regulus-Jupiter conjunction in September of 3 BC. Now, the spectacular conjunction of Jupiter and Venus in June of 2 BC would have been noticed by the Magi. And that would have prompted them to travel to the land of Judea to see the new Savior, the Messiah. Now, in December of 2 BC, it would take several months for them to arrive in Judea from Mesopotamia. And Jupiter at this point in December is rising in the east, as shown here. It rises in the east. Then, although Jupiter rises in the east around midnight in December, by the time of dawn, it is positioned to the south as it moves through the heavens in the evening hours. And if the Magi had traveled to Jerusalem and then turned south to Bethlehem, it would have the appearance that the star or Jupiter stopped over the town of Bethlehem. So according to Dr. Larson's theory, then, the birth of Christ would have been in June of 2 BC. He would have been around 30 years old at the start of his ministry, which then would have been from 29 to 32 AD, with a 32 AD crucifixion date, as we've shown in our prior videos. Now, a good friend of mine, Howard Bass, pastor of a Messianic church in Beersheba, Israel, has suggested that the crucifixion date was in 30 AD, and he bases this on a series of temple miracles, which were dated to 30 AD, and he correlated that to the crucifixion. But I wonder if these temple miracles that are recorded in the Talmud actually could have possibly begun at the start of Jesus's ministry, in which case that would be an alternative date for the Talmud miracles. Now, the crucifixion psalm is Psalm 22, and in verse 21, as we pointed out in a prior video, that this statement stands out, and from the horns of the wild oxen thou dost answer me. And when we check the position of Jupiter, the king planet, we find that on the 14th of Nisan, 32 AD, that Jupiter is square in the middle of the horns of the wild ox, just as it is on day 1335, according to our hypothetical timeline on the 26th of November, 2024, which signifies that he has come to rule and reign. So Dr. Larson's theory on the Star of Bethlehem meshes very well with our hypothetical timeline, and we're about to find out very soon if the timeline will be validated or not. In any case, whatever the outcome, remember that he is in complete control and nothing catches him by surprise. Until next time.